for yellow sky. Cold steel in my pocket and a fire in my iris. They mistake the silence for a surrender to the static. While I build a blueprint from the logic of the frantic. My spirit is a mortar, my resolve is every brick. The pace is high energy, the air is getting thick. I don't look for luck, I just look for the open seams. A midnight marathon, chasing high voltage dreams. From the basement to the roof, the view is getting clear. I'm harvesting the lessons that were planted by the fear. Eternal fire climbing higher through the smoke. The city tries to blind us, but the spirit never broke.
Good morning, everyone. It really doesn't matter if a black person has a gun, doesn't have a gun, has a weapon, doesn't have a weapon, running away from the police, driving away from the police. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I think the skin color encompassing with our phenotype is a threat to police in general. Now, granted, I'm all for police. Don't get me wrong. There's good police, there's bad police, just like there is in any race period, right? There's good people, bad people, people in between, good and bad. But nevertheless, for some reason in these United States of America, our country, our home, we've been here before the inception of America. Some reason racist people, discriminatory people have a subconscious bias about us, the violence that we may impose on them, even though we don't go and just attack police indiscriminately. That's not necessarily we have high statistics in or metrics to prove otherwise. But nevertheless, a Boston police officer walked up to a car, looked at a black man dead in the face and said, and again, I'm quoting this directly from the body camera footage that they're really not trying to make public. They really haven't really seen, right? Just the audio. He said, bro, I'm going to shoot you. Didn't I tell you about the term, bro? Let me go off on a tangent. I keep telling people, non-black people, whether they know it or not, whether they conscious or subconscious, it is a racial trope bias that they automatically associate a black person with bro and or sis. But when they talk to other people, again, this is not just white people, but this is other people. And this is not all white people, all Asian, all Hispanic, but those who do it, you know who you are. They go and they say those things. So here's a police officer, instead of saying sir, and the black, person who was unfortunately unalive, saying officer like I do, like, good morning, officer, give me your license and registration. Can I ask you, as I'm handing it to him, why you put me over, or you was doing 60 and a 30? Okay, I was speeding. Got it. But he said, bro, I'm going to shoot you. See, and some people would like to believe that that term is a term of endearment. Well, there was nothing endearing about what this officer did, okay? Because after he said, bro, I'm going to shoot you, he actually shot him 3 bullets through the window as Stephen King tried to drive away. This is the update that you guys have been waiting for. No weapons were found on Stephenson King, none, 0. And after 4 weeks, this story barely made a ripple to national news. No national outrage, no CNN marathon coverage, no primetime segments, nothing. I just told a friend of mine, don't just watch CNN, watch Fox, CNN, MS Now, CSNBC, C-SPAN, watch all of the news so you can be balanced, equal, and fair. But 2 days ago, a Suffolk County grand jury indicted Boston police officer Nicholas O'Malley on the count of voluntary manslaughter. But let me give you guys some background on this, nevertheless.
Boston police officers filed into the courthouse and filled the courtroom where a fellow officer faced a manslaughter charge.
Commonwealth versus Nicholas O'Malley.
Prosecutors say Officer Nicholas O'Malley broke the law when he fired into this stolen car on Linwood Square last week, killing the driver, Stephenson King.
At no time in his attempt to flee did Mr. King drive at the officers, nor were either officer in the path of Mr. King's vehicle when Officer O'Malley opened fire.
Prosecutors say King had carjacked a woman, but they say body camera video and witness accounts contradict the 33-year-old officer's story.
My client's perception is what matters here, and he stands by his actions.
The officer's attorney and his union are fiercely defending his decision to fire his weapon.
When his body camera in his chest is what they're looking at, it's preposterous to me. They can't possibly know how that police officer felt.
Fellow officers blocked the sidewalk when Officer O'Malley left the courthouse, released on personal recognizance. Investigators acknowledge that prosecuting a police officer is rare.
In the vast majority of cases, we find that the perception and the actions were reasonable. This is that extremely unusual case.
Now, the police union says it has not seen that body camera video, and investigators say it will not be released as this investigation moves forward. We're live at Boston Police Headquarters tonight. John out.
So hopefully the body cam footage will be released because prosecutors, the defense lawyers were stating that, and even, the judge to a certain degree stating that the body camera footage contradicts the officer's report, okay? Because again, there was no weapons. He did not use his vehicle as a weapon, and he was driving away. And he shot 3 times inside of the vehicle and killed Stephenson King. So again, as his lawyer was stating that he's standing behind his client claims, and for some reason, the body cam, even though he was charged 2 days ago, the body cam footage still has not been released. It still hasn't been released. But nevertheless, this didn't give you as much detail as I'm about to give you because this happened March 11th, and it was late at night in Roxbury, Boston, a predominantly Black neighborhood with a deep documented history of over-policing, okay? And Officer O'Malley and Ho responded to a call. In the report, Stephenson King, a 39-year-old Black man, had allegedly assaulted a woman and stolen her car. They found him sitting in the vehicle near, I believe it was 10 Linwood Square. Now, here's where the story breaks wide open, in my opinion, because there are 2 versions of what actually supposedly happened. There's the version of Officer O'Malley told investigators, and then there's what the body camera actually shows. Now, O'Malley claimed King tried to run them over, that he feared for his life, that he had no choice. But the body camera tells a completely different story. And we're kind of used to this where we've seen on tape, they forgot that their body cam was on. I'm not talking about Boston police. I'm just talking about in general, where they've been planting evidence and been caught. And all the police stand behind them, back to blue, back to blue. How I cannot be a police officer. I actually thought about it when I got out, when I retired from the military, but I was like, well, I got bad shoulders, got bad knees, I got this, I got that. I can't do it. But nevertheless, I'm just like, when you have corrupt police officers and they stand behind and in front of corrupt police officers, how would I feel the pressure of then being corrupt? Would I be corrupt because I want to back my fellow mate? What if it was a good friend of mine who actually did the wrong thing? Do I show a sign of force and, supporting him or her in the line of duty, standing there with the other police officer? Or do I turn a cold shoulder like, I saw the body cam footage, you was wrong, but I'm not going to say anything, but I'm definitely not going to show up and support you. Do you support people when they wrong? Do you supposed to? Is that right? Is that the truth? Right? Are you fabricating just by your posture? It's very possible, but nevertheless, when they were looking at this, a prosecutor said that the footage shows King maneuvering, clearly trying to drive away, not at the officer. Neither officer was in the path of the vehicle. Neither was in danger, but O'Malley wasn't dodging a car. He was chasing a Black man who was leaving. And O'Malley's own words, bro, I'm going to shoot you. Those words came before King moved the car. He said, bro, I'm going to shoot you. So I want you guys, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or indifferent, I want to picture yourself inside of this car. And with the subconscious trauma that we kind of walk around and we fester in as Black people, whether you think you fear the police or not, but you've seen the actions of the police, even when there was an innocent Black person that had no weapon, that posed no threat, that was non-aggressive, that wasn't speaking profanity in any source, and still got killed unarmed. by the police. So officer comes up to your car, bro, I'm gonna kill you. I can just understand it. I'm pretty sure whenever they release this body cam, we will get the full account. Because I could be wrong. But everybody's stating that the camera doesn't match up with the officer report. And we've seen this thousands of times before. This is not a reaction that's born in fear, ladies and gentlemen. This is a promise. That is a threat. That is a decision already made when you walk up to the car and you state words that you're going to unalive me. And then he kept his word. So I guess Officer O'Malley is a man of his word. Now, I want you to hear me on the legal significance of, this trial that happened 2 days ago of the indictment. Because Nicholas O'Malley is the first Boston police officer to be charged in a fatal on-duty shooting in decades. And I want you to really think about that. Not the first this year, not the first in this decade, but in decades, okay? And this means in one of America's, major cities like Boston, police officers have been killing people and no one faced criminal charges for decades. This is a system working exactly how it's designed. And the only reason this indictment exists, the only reason there's a community pressure, Representative Ayanna Pressley demanded accountability. Stephen King's family hiring the ambulance chaser, Ben Crump, and going public. People in the Roxbury refusing to let this disappear. The community is fighting to even get the body cam footage released. Still no success on that, but nevertheless, they're going to keep fighting, hopefully, because we really need to see what happened. Because this might be in favor of Officer O'Malley. Like, here's my thing. If I'm Officer O'Malley, and we understand the power of social media, and we understand the power of public opinion and how sometimes when there's an outrage, right? People who back the blue, they had, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and sons and daughters who are police officers or who are in law enforcement, that they will come out on all the social media and support Officer O'Malley. Why are you not releasing body cam footage? That's odd. But again, everybody who think that the officer have done wrong could be wrong, right? Everyone who thought the officer acted, within the law could be right. But again, the question is, why not release the body cam footage? But nevertheless, I really want you guys to notice something about the framing here, because the initial reports describe King as a carjacking suspect, not a father, not a son, not a human being, but a suspect. And that word is doing heavy lifting because, again, anytime there's a Black victim, they try to label you as something more criminal than what you are. First, a victim. Well, he had a joint in the car, so he must be dealing in drugs. He might be a drug dealer. His tire tread on his car was bald. That means he's not a good citizen. They always come up with all of these cockamamie, stories to make you seem less than. Because once you label someone a suspect, especially a Black person, a significant portion of this country mentally, even Black people mentally pre-authorizes whatever happens next. Because again, I believe we have been trained, and again, we can go with the conspiracy theories, but I believe that we have been trained, whether it be privately or publicly. We have been manipulated to hate our own people, even when there's no evidence against them. Let me bring up P. Diddy real quick. Let me take a break here. P. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs. Take that. He's incarcerated, not because he R-word anyone, okay? Just, I'll say ape, but put the R on it. You know what guys I'm talking about, YouTube algorithms. But he didn't R-word anyone. He didn't sexual assault anyone. He didn't sexual harass anyone. They got him on, I think, the Mann Act, right? Where supposedly he transported personnel from one state to another state to have relations with, right? They didn't get him on all those charges. Like, well, what about it did to Cassie? Yes, he assaulted Cassie. We saw the videotape. But Cassie got paid off. Now, if you ask me, Would you get your butt whooped? And I'm not justifying what he did. But if somebody asked me, would you get your butt whipped for a couple of $1 million? I'm like, yeah, go ahead and knock me out, dog. Hopefully I don't have a concussion. Hopefully, my PTSD don't stir up. But go ahead and knock me out. Let me get a couple of million, okay? What I am saying is busted lip, knot on your forehead, bruised shoulder, okay, rug burns from being dragged. I think it'll be okay with the 10 mil. I don't know how much you got, but I know it was millions, but I think you'll be okay, right? The trauma is still there. That doesn't really leave. But again, I'm not suppressing what Sean Diddy Combs did. Again, that was an arbitration. He paid her off. That video should never came to light. They used that as evidence in the court of public opinion to hang Puffy. He should have been out of jail a long time ago. I'm not supporting what he did. Whatever he do in his private life, these freak offs, so be it. You're a freaky ass dude. Keep yourself inside. I don't know. Now, Officer O'Malley. Because ever since when being alleged carjacking suspect, right? He hasn't, Stephenson was not convicted as a carjacker, not even formally arrested. Now, when does the alleged allegation becomes a death sentence? When do we shoot people through a window as they drive away? Like this is some sort of action film. This is what normalization of police violence actually looks like. Because you're going to have people who inherently dislike and hate Black people who are automatically going to think the Black person is wrong. I really thought, and I think I've said this before, I really thought that sports, entertainment, working with other races will mend some of the racial hatreds of other groups when it came to Black people. Because I've worked with white people, I work with Asian people, I work with Hispanic people, and a lot of us became good friends. Even in the military, I have a lot of friends that are white. And some of that this time that I've shared with people that they've never went to school, they never interacted until they joined the military, right? But those relations became mended. I can still call people when I worked at Amazon as operations manager. I can still call my friend Nate, right? Who's a white boy from Pennsylvania, right? We don't have those issues because we had opportunity to talk. How did you grow up? How did I grow up? And then somewhere in the middle, how we're both American and we both share some of the same struggles. Mine's probably a little worse than his, but nevertheless, we have. I really thought all of these integration, work, sports, entertainment, media, whatever, what's going to really mend the race relation. That the amount of racism that we have now, right? It's like it goes up and it goes down depending on who's in office. But the police brutality has always been there. Not that all police are brutal, but those brutal police officers that just somehow just fear for their life, even when a Black person is going the opposite way with no weapon, they just feel threatened. I don't know how you feel threatened, because we've seen videotapes where a police officer approaches a Black guy, police officer says whatever he says, turns around, and the Black person is running and gets shot in the back. And he states that he fears for his life. How in the world did you fear for your life and the only thing you see is his back? We call those people cowards. Cowards. Who would you be without your damn gun? Who would you be without your damn gun? Don't you guys learn hand-to-hand combat methods to subdue people? Cowards. Freaking cowards. Because you know, if it was hand-to-hand combat, you would get your ass whooped. Sometimes when it comes to a cop who's already decided before his finger touched that trigger that this Black person's life, and in this case, this Black man's life, was worth less than the inconvenience of a proper arrest. And he only got manslaughter. It should have been first-degree murder, in my opinion. Premeditated. Officer O'Malley is scheduled for arraignment on June 4th. And we really need to be watching what happens, because here's what history tells us, ladies and gentlemen. Indictments are not convictions. The system that failed to charge officers for decades is the same system now handling this prosecution. And that system has a well-documented pattern of extending every benefit of the doubt to officers while extending none to the families of the dead. We saw it with Breonna Taylor. We saw it with Philando Castile. We saw it with too many names we had to learn to say right. Yes, the indictment matters. It is a step, but do not let them sell you a step as a destination. That's what they will like to do.
A grand jury has indicted Boston police officer Nicholas O'Malley for voluntary manslaughter in the shooting death of Stephenson King Jr. O'Malley's lawyers argue he acted in self-defense while responding to a suspected carjacking. Prosecutors have said that O'Malley's statements contradict his body camera footage. That footage, though, has not been publicly released. We have requested it numerous times. The DA's office says prosecutors met with King's family today to update them on the case and to show them the footage. Ben Crump, who is representing the King family, says in part, quote, his family knows that accountability cannot stop here. They deserve the full truth about what happened to Stephenson and a justice system willing to fully examine every decision that led to his death.
Now, because of this officer's intent, I don't know if he feared for his life, even though the black man was fleeing away from him, or he just simply did it out of hate. I don't know. I don't know. But I know that two families should lose the man in their life. Stephenson King's family lost him, and I hope that O'Malley's family loses him. I hope that he gets life in prison, 3 times the amount. Because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I don't condone violence. But that does not mean that when we look at all of these cases of black people being unalive, who don't garner a weapon, who's being non-aggressive, does not mean that some people will be radicalized by this, which I hope they do not. Because I know some people like, nah, man, the police come up on me and he's talking some, bro, I'm going to shoot you. Well, I'm going to pull mine first. I don't want that to happen, because we'll end up losing more, because then it'd be all out hell on black people and kill them on sight. But when it comes to voting about these dissent decrees in your city municipalities, your states, we need to make sure that we have candidates in office who impose these dissent decrees. And when officers unalive people with no just cause, that they spend the rest of their lives in jail. I thought they were supposed to be peace officers. So if you have a weapon as a police officer, you have your flapjack, your nightstick, your pepper spray, your taser, and the only thing that a lot of these officers, again, who's been in these situations, not all officers, but these officers, pull out their gun first. That's training, right? They don't, because their taser's on their non-dominant hand, right? Whether it be left or right, their non-dominant hand. They're not trained to pull that out first, right? Their first thing is, but how do you not think that he's driving away or he's running away, that you pull the most deadliest weapon you have on your utility belt? That can be training too. Stephenson King was 39 years of age. He was somebody's family. He was in a car trying to leave after the threat. I wish he would have lived, because then he would have just cause why he was fleeing after the officer said, bro, I'm going to shoot you. But nevertheless, Stephenson King was trying to leave, which, by the way, is exactly what most of us would do when police draw weapons on us. He was trying to survive this encounter. He did not. And a cop warned him out loud on camera that he was about to die. Where's the body cam footage? Why haven't they released that yet, since Officer O'Malley is innocent? I'm just asking for an entire population of people. And I'm not just talking about black people, because there's white people who've been killed by the police as well, but not as many, right? But I'm pretty sure they would like to know. So they can go off on a tangent, either pro-police or anti. But nevertheless, our officer kept his word, ladies and gentlemen. Now we see if the justice system keeps his word. We have to have politicians in office that are going to do the right thing. We need to have politicians in office who are going to stand by the law, not by law enforcement. Because here's the thing. For some reason, people think when you join law enforcement, right? No matter the level of law enforcement, when you join the military, that somehow there's a metamorphosis, there's a transformation that people go through and they become a different person. Does that happen for everybody? No. That does happen to a lot of people, right? You instill discipline inside of people, right from wrong. You start to follow the law more so than you ever been. But regardless, if you was a POS before you went into the military or law enforcement, chances are you hid whoever you were until you passed whatever you needed to pass in order to become whatever you become, but you're still a piece of shit. And just for the bigots, the racists, when it comes to police officers, this is not just white police officers. We saw where 5 black police officers beat a black man to death. See, I encourage good police, great police. I encourage black people to join the police department, but not to join in the ancient old park police, slave catch and patrol, kill and will and steal, plant drugs and anything else to entrap and encase black people and put them away for the rest of their life. And that's why we had the Innocent Project, where you see all of these black people getting out of jail. They spent the better part of their life in jail. They went to jail when they was 18, 20, 25, and now they're out there 65 and they give them a measly $1 million. What's that? I'd rather have my youth back. Maybe some of you just don't understand. Ladies and gentlemen, we're the ones who can make this change. And as I told you before, I know people don't think that voting is everything, but we have to have grassroots candidates. We have to have people who are running in office who is going to actually stand behind their word and enact legislation where people of this country can have justice, especially black people. Because regardless of what people tell you that we're equals and this is not going on and that is not going on, the proof is in the evidence of what the hell's been going on since we landed, since we founded, since we built this land.